So today we are talking about the labor of death. So yesterday we talked about um what was it? Um we talked about how we revere birth as a sacred rite of passage, and even though death is the inverse of birth, we don't offer any sanctity. We don't revere death. We fear it and ignore it. And so, hi, Nina. Hola, hola. And so, on that same in that same vein, thank you, Viami. Um, on that same vein, there is a labor of death, right? Which we're going to go say. So, one day you're pregnant, right? And then there are so many signs leading up to delivery, right? You lose your mucus plug, your round ligaments soften, all of these things happen to prepare your body for birth. Well, the same thing happens when people die. There is a labor of death, and it doesn't really look anything like the labor of birth, honestly. There's 5 stages, right? And the reason that I feel like this is, before I get into the 5 stages, the reason that I feel like this is an important conversation to have is so that you know what's happening. If you ever have the privilege of sitting with someone at the end of their life, knowing what's happening or what's normal so that you can be present instead of panicking, I feel like is really, really important. And so we want to be able to know what's real, know what's valid, and not panic and call 911 because our loved one is experiencing something that makes us uncomfortable. Because when you call 911, greetings, Dennis. I'm in Costa Rica too. Oh yeah, guys, when you join, let me know where you're coming from. Hi, A Bender 87. So when you're with someone and they're dying and you call 911, you disrupt the dying process. So just like birthing, your body has to prepare for it, and there is a process. And sometimes conventional medicine blocks you from, like, they disrupt your birthing process sometimes, not all the times. But the same thing can happen with death. If you call 911, they're going to use life-saving practices. And so you've disrupted the dying process. So here are the things that show the labor of death. And y'all know what? I just realized that I don't have on my microphone. Can y'all hear me all right? I want to put it on real quick just to make sure that we can hear well. That's my bad, y'all. Okay. So, all right. So there's 5 stages, right? There's months out. Okay, great. Thanks, Nina. There's months out. So 1 to 3 months before death, right? And this is where withdrawal starts. And there's a reduction in appetite. There's sleeping, like lots of naps, more sleeping, more napping, eating less and preferring softer foods, right? And reflection increases, right? So your loved one may begin to talk about things they hadn't talked about in a long time, and revisiting events, revisiting arguments or some really good times in their lives, talking about their wedding or the birth of their children, and those kinds of things. Okay. And then start going through photos and reminiscing. Okay, this is the beginning of letting go. And a lot of times they don't even realize that this is the beginning of that. So it's not like someone who is ill or is about to die has a guide on what to expect, like we would with birth and laboring, but it's just something that happens. Okay, so then that's in the, lo siento Silvestre, es que estoy hablando en inglés para este live porque mucha de la gente que están aquí hablan inglés. Lo siento mucho. So weeks out, you have sleep becomes like a really big part of the day. Sleep takes up most of the day. The appetite drops significantly, and they're going to be drinking more water than eating food. Okay. And then the withdrawal will deepen. So now they may prefer to only have one or two people in the room at a time, or they might prefer silence and to be alone as well. And speech may slow down. The body is beginning to conserve energy for the work ahead, because just like birth requires a lot of energy, dying requires a lot of energy too, because the body has to shut itself down. Okay, so that's stage 2. Stage 3 is, hi Hema, thanks for joining. Stage 3 is in a few days out, like the last few days, let's say 1 to 4 days. They're awake for shorter and shorter stretches. Okay, water intake drops to sips. There is no appetite. They're not eating any food, because you guys know how much energy it takes to digest food. And so when you force someone to eat, and we do that, right? As loved ones, we don't know any better. And we just know that, you know, you got to eat to keep up your energy and all of these things. But when you are dying, you stop eating because it takes so much energy to digest food. And that can be really uncomfortable for someone whose systems are shutting down. So as much as it will be uncomfortable to you, remember to allow them to dictate what they consume and what they take in, and don't be pushy and try to pressure them to eat more. Okay. The skin may look different in the extremities. The fingers and toes and legs are going to be very cold, because again, systems are shutting down. Blood isn't making it all the way to the end of those extremities. All right. And breathing patterns are going to change also in this time. So the breath may be irregular, or it could be shallow. There's a lot of things that could happen with the breathing patterns. And the person may speak to people who are not visible in the room. And we talked about this a couple of days ago, where I said that people dying will sometimes refer to or be speaking to people that we know have already crossed over into the spirit realm, or are in heaven. And so it could be ancestors, parents, siblings, uncles, grandparents. They also may talk about leaving and needing to go on a trip, right? So, hey, I need to catch a train at this time, or are my bags packed? I need to get ready to go. That kind of thing will happen within the last few days. Okay. And this is not confusion. This is just part of the dying process. This happens across cultures, across languages and geographical locations. So in the last hours, this is when they're the mostly unresponsive. So they're sleeping a lot, and they may open their eyes every now and again. They're still hearing though, guys. So hearing is the last sense to go. So this is a time where you can continue to talk to your loved one and tell them all the things. If they're holding on for any reason, this is where you give them permission to let go. And this is where you tell them you love them, and you just, hopefully you've said those last things prior to this point. But if, for instance, you are arriving when, you know, like you just got to them and they're in the last few days, Hearing is the last thing to go. So say what you need to say because they can still hear you. All right. Um, in the last hours, okay, they are modeling. Modeling is purplish patterning on the skin. And it looks blotchy, like they might have blotchy where they're laying down. And it can appear on the legs, the hands, and the feet. All right. And their extremities are really cool at this point. And this is when you just put extra blankets, try to keep them comfortable and keep them warm. They may not be drinking anything at all at this point, and so their mouth may be dry and their eyes may be dry, and so you can moisten a towel to keep their lips moist so they're not uncomfortable, um, or use ice. It just depends. um some people will rally in the last couple of days, right? And this is not recovery. This is like the last hurrah, right? There is a specific word for it, but I can't think of what the word is right now. It's slipping my mind. But um, they will sit up and they will talk, and it really is a last gift. Okay, so if they were going through all of these stages and we get to the last day or so and they're up and they're talking and laughing, this is a gift. They're probably going to go soon. Okay. And then minutes out. Oh, also in the last hours, they'll have what's called the death rattle. And this is just fluid at the back of the throat. It can be very uncomfortable for everyone else to listen to, but it is not uncomfortable for them. All right. So minutes out, the breathing becomes very shallow and irregular. So there's going to be longer and longer pauses between respirations. Um, and the final breath is often small, right? And it's not as dramatic as we see on TV and in movies. It's not like that at all. The final breath is unremarkable. And sometimes there's a reflexive gasp or two, but this is the body, not the person. So when you know what's happening, again, you can be present and not panicked, right? And then you get to really be with your loved one instead of having them whisked away in an ambulance or by doctors, and then you miss the moment. So, if you have ever sat with someone that was passing, drop what you noticed. Like, tell me in the comments, what did you notice? Or have you ever sat with someone, or have you had the option to and chose not to because you were scared? Let me know if you guys have questions around the labor of death or around your own experiences. So one question is the death rattle painful? No, it's not. The death rattle it sounds distressing to us, but it's not a struggle to the person experiencing it. It causes more distress to us because it sounds like struggle, right? It sounds like they can't catch their breath, but this is a phenomenon. This happens. So I'm trying to check both to see if there are questions on either one. Another question. My mom stopped eating and drinking a week before she died. Was she in pain from hunger? No. Because so why do we need food, right? We need food because we're expending energy, walking, working, moving around. When you are doing nothing but sleeping and sitting, you don't need as much energy. And so you aren't burning calories. Your metabolism is much, much lower than it was, when you were well. And so the body just doesn't need the food or the water in the last days, and forcing intake is actually what would cause discomfort, not having hunger pains at all. So another person says, how do I know if death is close? So look at breathing patterns and look at the skin. Feel the extremities. Are they really, really cold? Do you see the modeling that I told you guys about? It looks like blotches, I guess, if you will. When the breathing becomes irregular with pauses, long pauses in between inhalation and exhalation, then you will know that death is close. Someone else says, what do I do in the last hours? Be present. Just be there. Hold their hand. Talk to them. Again, I mentioned earlier that hearing is the last sense to go. So they may not be able to talk to you, but you'll be able to talk to them and they'll be able to hear you. Play the music that they love. If they like a certain scent, like candles or incense. And this is why it's also good. It's a good thing if you have an ethical, well, not necessarily ethical will, but if you have, so you know how they have DNRs, right? Do not resuscitate. You could also have a plan, like a death plan. Just like people have birth plans, you can have a death plan. And in this death plan, you can dictate what music you want to hear, what scents you want to smell. You can say who you want in the room, who you absolutely don't want in the room. And I know you're thinking, oh, at the end of life, people aren't petty. They may not be petty, but if someone has mistreated you in life, right, and y'all didn't really get along, they're probably the last person that you're going to want present for your last moments in this realm. And no matter what that reasoning is, it's yours to make alone. So having some type of a plan written out that says what you want is really, really good. And it allows the people who love you and who are caring for you to give you the death that you wanted and doing the things that you need. And here's a shameless plug. I wrote a journal about it, right? It's called For My Beloveds, and you can put your death care wishes in there. So all of like what you want to hear, what you want to see, who you don't want to see. If you want to smell anything, how do you want the lighting? Do you want the lighting high and bright, or do you want it dim? Do you want the candles lit? Do you want the windows open? There's so many things that we don't think about. We do think about them though in birth, right? Who do you want? Like, you get to choose who you want to be when, not when you're born, but when you are the person giving birth. You can decide who is in the room, who you want to see and who you don't want to see. And that is fiercely protected by your doctor, the nurses, your doula, your midwife, your friends, your husband, whomever. So, yeah. So we got about 11 minutes left. Do you speak English? Yes, I am speaking English now. Anyone have questions for me as a death doula? Y si quieres, tú puedes hablar en español también. But I gave the whole presentation in English, so I assume the questions will be in English as well. All right, guys. So this is day 9. Has it been 9 days already? I want to know what you guys want to know about this work. Hola. And what questions do you have about death and dying, grieving, and living? Because again, I do this work so that people have a more fulfilled life and they knowing if we live like we know we're going to die, I feel like we make better decisions for the most part. Some people might take that and do something completely different with it. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, let me see if I have any more seed questions. Oh, last one. What if I missed the moment? This is a really good one. Um, because, so for those of you who don't know, I live in Costa Rica, and in Costa Rica, they don't keep bodies for a very long time. The funeral happens very shortly after passing, and for a lot of immigrants, their concern is that their family won't be able to get there in time to say goodbye and all of those things. Um, if you miss it, it's okay. And not only is it, you could miss it because you just weren't geographically, physically in the vicinity, but sometimes people won't die until you step out of the room. Sometimes they will wait for you to go use the restroom, get something to eat, go home and shower. And this is because maybe they wanted privacy in the last moment, or maybe they didn't want to stress you. Unplugged Soul says, I observed my grandmother passing. The family gathered as she was in her last hour. We had the privilege to observe her last breath. And so that's really beautiful. And she chose to allow them to be there. Or otherwise, she would have chosen a different moment. And so you don't know what you're going to do at the end until you get there. But just know that missing the moment is not horrible. It means that they just wanted a little bit more time. Amber says, I love that Unplugged Soul. It was the same for me and my family when my dad transitioned. Yes. And I imagine people die the way that they lived. So if you loved your family or you loved people, you may feel comfortable and you may feel safe going with them in the room. But if you were a private person and you preferred, to do things alone, then maybe you will wait for people to leave the room. Either way, everything is great. Hola, Arin. And yeah, thank you, Amber and Unplugged Soul, for sharing your stories about being with someone that has transitioned. It's such a privilege that we avoid. Thanks. So, look, Amber said she loved my earrings, and my sister Erin brought these for me, and so I just wanted to wear them. Arin, saludos. Estoy en Costa Rica. ¿Y usted? Yeah. So, guys, it's a privilege to be with someone, and I feel like in Western society or Western culture, we avoid it. We look at it as something scary when it is like, I feel like watching someone be born and watching someone die are like two things that we should all do at some point in life. Gracias, Arin. De Nicaragua. Bienvenida. And so I really, really hope that these lives and these stories that I'm sharing and this education that I'm giving helps you to not be so fearful. And for those of you that have already experienced it, you understand what it means. But for those of you that haven't, be open to it. It'll change the way you live. It'll change the way you love. And I think it'll just give you another moment with your loved one, getting to support them as they leave this realm. All right, guys. I'm gonna go a little bit early today because I've run through my material and I don't see any other questions. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Amber and Unplugged Soul, for sharing your experiences with being with a loved one when they transition. And I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. And I'm not sure what we're going to talk about tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, drop them in my DMs or in the comments for any of my videos. You can drop your questions and I will answer them. Okay. So this is another, I feel like this is in the realm of between living and leaving. But actually, I do know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about 5 conversations to have before the end. All right. So this will be part of my Before the End series. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a beautiful rest of your Tuesday. Ciao.